And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Just make sure that they get out of the way of what is a monster storm, and still building, by the way, as it heads towards the coast.
For days now, officials have been warning people in the storm zone to evacuate because of the life-threatening storm surge and dangerous winds.
Hurricane Milton is coming to Florida this week, and it is going to be extremely dangerous. Here's what you need to know about the ever-growing hurricane. And just a side note, I'm currently filming this video in the afternoon of Tuesday, October 8th, so this is the information we currently have at this time, but by the time this has been posted, some information could have changed. Currently, Milton is a Category 4 hurricane and is very dangerous. On Monday, it had peak winds of 180 miles per hour, and it rapidly intensified. It went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in less than 2 days, which is honestly just very scary. It's been said by weather specialists that Category 4 or even 3 hurricanes approaching the Tampa Bay area could be catastrophic because they've never had to deal with anything like this ever before. Now, because of this, there is not proper infrastructure or plans in place, which could make things even worse. Now, there's 3 million people in Tampa, and the thought of all those innocent people going through this is just sad. Hurricane Katrina, which happened in 2005, was one of the deadliest and costliest hurricanes in US history. Looking now, Katrina has a similar intensity trend as Milton, so people are going to need to brace themselves, as this hurricane is no joke. We all saw the effect that Katrina had, and the fact that Milton could be worse is really concerning. Now, it appears that overnight Monday, the hurricane went through an eyewall replacement cycle. Now, what is an eyewall and what does this mean? Well, an eyewall consists of a ring of tall thunderstorms that produce heavy rains and usually the strongest winds. Changes in the structure of the eye and eye wall can cause changes in the wind speed, which is an indicator of the storm's intensity. So the fact that it went through a replacement cycle makes it even more dangerous. Eye wall replacements typically bring the wind speeds down, but they expand the size of the storm. This means the storm will affect even more areas than was thought. And who's to say that another eye wall won't happen? The storm could get even worse and worse. Before, Hurricane Milton was a relatively small but powerful storm, but now that has changed. The structure of Milton has changed significantly overnight, the National Hurricane Center wrote. The pinhole eye seen yesterday has filled, and earlier aircraft data showed a double eye wall structure. More recent microwave images show only one larger eye wall, and it's clear that Milton is completing an eye wall replacement cycle, they said. Now again, this is just making things even more dangerous. It's thought that the hurricane will make its approach by Wednesday afternoon, which does not give that much time for people to prepare. This is a very serious situation, forecasters from the National Hurricane Center said Tuesday morning, warning that Milton has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for West Central Florida. As the state just saw with Hurricane Helene, devastating effects can occur when rain falls ahead of hurricane's landfall. Now, the amount of rain that falls will depend on how quickly the storm moves across the peninsula and where it makes landfall. Now, with Florida just dealing with Hurricane Helene, they could be in even bigger trouble. Just a couple weeks ago, when that hurricane came crashing through, 17 fatalities were reported in Florida alone. Now, after the storm had passed, the Taylor County Sheriff's Office posted to social media asking for those who did not evacuate to write their birthday and other important information on their bodies and permanent marker, and email the similar information and their location to them to help search and rescue teams, or to simply identify them if they passed away due to the storm, which is just chilling to think about. At the time, over 1,000 people had to be rescued in the Tampa Bay area, but it looks like those numbers will be much bigger when it comes to Hurricane Milton, which again is absolutely terrifying. Tuesday morning, it was announced that Tampa Bay is under both a hurricane warning and a storm surge warning, as the National Hurricane Center forecasts that it could cause surges that are between 3 to 4 meters high. The combination of a dangerous storm surge and the tide will cause normally dry areas near the coast to be flooded by rising waters moving inland from the shoreline, an update said. There have also been warnings that debris caused by Hurricane Helene could be picked up and turned into projectiles in the strong winds. Now that just makes things even more dangerous, as a hurricane is one thing, but if it's filled with debris, it can cause more damage and be even more deadly. Now it's crazy because some people will be hit by a hurricane twice within a couple of weeks, and they haven't even had time to repair the destruction the first hurricane made. Now, due to the severity of the storm, hundreds of thousands of residents in communities along the western Gulf Coast were subject to evacuation orders. In Florida, this means that first responders are not expected to risk their lives during the storm to rescue anyone who chooses to stay. If you remain there, you could die, and my men and women could die trying to rescue you, Hillsborough Fire Rescue Chief Jason Doherty said. So if you stay, you're really risking your life, as you will not get help until it is fully safe. Now recently, President Joe Biden approved an emergency declaration for Florida, and the U.S. Representative Kathy Castor said 7,000 federal workers were on hand to help in one of the largest mobilizations of federal personnel in history. This is the real deal here with Milton, Tampa Mayor Jane Castor said during a news conference on Monday. If you want to take on Mother Nature, she wins 100% of the time. She then literally told those in evacuation zones for Milton, if you choose to stay in one of these evacuation areas, you're gonna die. Now, unfortunately, some people don't have the option to evacuate, mostly due to how expensive it is. Hotels and plane tickets have jacked up in price, and some people don't even have cars to get out. Tampa International Airport said it planned to stop its flights at 9 a.m. local time on Tuesday, and the airport then posted on Twitter that it's not a shelter for people or their cars. Then St. Pete Clearwater International Airport said it is in a mandatory evacuation zone and will close after the last flight leaves on Tuesday. So if you can get out, you should, and if you can't, you need to prepare accordingly. Now, President Joe Biden told reporters that Hurricane Milton could be one of the worst storms in 100 years to hit Florida. The president postponed a trip to Germany and Angola this week because of the storm, as he wants to help U.S. citizens. Biden said Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has gotten all he needs and has been cooperative. Biden also warned Florida residents to follow the evacuation orders and avoid being trapped as Hurricane Milton approaches the state. If you're under evacuation orders, you should evacuate now. You should have already evacuated. It's a matter of life or death, he said, while addressing reporters in the White House after receiving a briefing on preparations for the storm. Now, the 11 Florida counties under mandatory evacuation orders have an estimated 5.9 million people living there. Hopefully, they can all get out safe, but videos on social media have shown that highways are packed with bumper-to-bumper traffic, with people trying to leave at the last minute. Now, scientists have been worried about things like Hurricane Milton since climate change has been so rapid in recent years. Milton will be the 5th hurricane to take landfall this year in the US, and while climate change has not led to an increase in the total number of hurricanes hitting the US each year, it has affected their intensity. They're more likely to have higher wind speeds, heavier rainfall, and more severe storm surge, which isn't good as it makes the hurricanes more dangerous for everyone. It's said that warmer ocean temperatures fuel more powerful storms, and climate change is affecting this. It's been reported that the Atlantic Ocean, where hurricanes that hit the US form, and the Gulf of Mexico just off of Florida have been hotter than average for more than 18 months. Warmer ocean temperatures can lead to heavier rainfall and more severe flooding. These hurricanes can suck up the moisture, and that results in more flooding. The National Hurricane Center is warning up to 15 feet of storm surge with Milton, which will devastate millions. Hurricane specialist John Morales broke down on air as he was discussing the threat of Hurricane Milton on a local South Florida TV station. "I apologize," he said through tears. "This is just horrific," he added. "This whole situation is honestly just so devastating, and it will continue to happen and even get worse if we don't do anything to help fight climate change. You don't think these events are all that bad until it happens to you and you see the real effects of it." Well, that's all for today's video. If you're in Florida, we're thinking of you, and please stay safe. I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time.